Speaking of Coach Chris, how has he impacted your development, not only as a man, but as a person, as a football player, your decision to come to this university? What impact has he had on you?
Really, one of the biggest things is taking the time out to do the things necessary in order to have me grow and other people on the team grow as a player. So, specifically, wanting to grow in the passing game. So just put me in those situations, being cautious of, hey, we have a script at practice, so making sure that I'm in on those specific plays, just so that I get those reps. So just doing little things and being cautious of certain things and putting you in positions, of course, to make it happen, but, just give you that opportunity.
Jonathan, I have a quick question for you about approaching. Just being able to do it just when you're on offense. I know he doesn't get a bunch of touches, but what stands out on him, the things that he can do when he gets a chance?
I mean, that's the thing. He doesn't get a bunch of touches, but we know how explosive he is. So when he does get those touches, everyone's on the sideline is watching him because they know he can take it to the house at any time, and you guys saw it last week. But, he does things like that at practice all the time. So, when we finally hear, oh, what's the play, and we know it's going to him, we're all on the edge of our seats because we know the type of playmaker he is.
How would you describe Coach Chris?
I would describe him as a man who is he really knows his players. He understands what each person needs to work on, and like I said, he does a cautious job of scripting certain things and making sure guys are in the position in order, say if they got it wrong one day, he's going to give you another opportunity. One of his biggest things is the best thing about it is you don't have to be ready until Saturday. So he'll give you opportunities in order to correct it, in order to make sure that you fully understand what's going on and help you develop. So I think that's the biggest thing is that he knows his players and he does a good job of trying to put them in position to help them grow.
Yeah. How about as a person?
One of the biggest things is, I don't know about other schools, but you do hear that sometimes it's kind of not like an open door policy, but even sometimes you might be late to class and, you just got to run up and go check in with your position coach real quick, and you go past his office and he's like, hey, come in here, and you got to, sometimes you got to tell him, I got 15 minutes, but you want to talk to him. He's a guy you want to talk to, but that's how he is. He's always wanting to call you in his office, or if he sees you just walking around, he wants to ask you certain things and not about football. And, it's not just that he's asking stuff not about football. He's genuinely wanting to know because he'll remember key details that you might have even forgot that you told him before.
Really? Interesting.
We all saw that picture of you with your lineman and Coach Rudy. How important is it for you to be in a picture like that?
It's very important. Once I found out at the end of the game, that was one of the first things I did. I tried to make sure I rounded up as many guys as possible before they got undressed so that we could get a snapshot of it because that's huge. And, a lot of people are going to turn towards me and, kind of want to get my intake on it. But one of the biggest things, I wanted to make sure that those guys knew that I appreciated them. So that was one of the first things I tried to do because they don't always get the media attention. So I just wanted to make sure that, on the inside, we know the hard work that they put in.
It's important to you. You've always supported that line. Even a couple games, maybe they weren't quite as good and your numbers weren't quite as good, but you've never wavered on your support and confidence in them, I guess. Is that correct?
Yeah, just, every game isn't going to be perfect. We always say, of course, a team is going to always have a wrinkle or two in there. You're not going to just go out in the field and say, oh, we've seen every single thing that they've done on film, because they know that you're watching film. So they're going to put a wrinkle or two in. And the biggest thing is you got to be able to adjust in the middle of the game and understand that, hey, maybe it's just a tough look. So you got to make it work, and we're going to get through it together.
You given some thought that this might be your last home game?
One of the biggest things, just trying to understand that, this is the biggest game of the week. Not looking far ahead at all because you want to savor this moment, especially at the senior day. So it's going to be a special moment for those guys. So we got to make sure that, everybody, Zach Vaughn talked about it today, he didn't want it to be about the seniors this week. He wanted it to be about the entire team. But, the guys who aren't seniors, we understand that this is a special moment. So we got to make sure we're playing our best ball so that, we can make one of their last games memorable.
Has the whole NFL thing ever entered your mind at any point this season?
Oh, it does enter your mind, because it's talks. It's going to be around just like Heisman and awards in the season. It's always around, but that's the thing. You got to make sure you focus on the task at hand because if you look at the end of the road, then you could lose yourself on the way to the end. So you got to make sure that you stay locked in.
Jonathan, you're being mentioned with guys like Archie Griffin and all those big names. Who were some guys you looked at growing up saying, man, that's my guy?
Two of the backs that I watched growing up was Adrian Peterson and Arian Foster. I kind of like those guys. Adrian Peterson kind of was that in the weight room wanting me to develop my speed and power because he was that rare combination. And then Arian Foster was just me trying to develop my patience. I just loved how smooth he was. He was a kind of a bigger back, but he was very smooth in and out his cuts, and I just thought he had a kind of savviness to him.
Jonathan, you're a guy whose time here is closer to the end, closer to the end than it is at the beginning. How much impact do you have on recruiting running backs when they come in here? What kind of things do you say to them in the locker room after a game?
One of the biggest things is I told those guys, you come here, you're going to have a chance. First of all, you got to see yourself being in Madison. I always tell guys, kind of take football out of the picture. Football is going to be a big part of you coming up here, but what are you going to do outside of football? Can you see yourself interacting with people around you? Do you enjoy the people? Do you enjoy the city? Do you enjoy the lakes? Just trying to get those guys to see themselves say, hey, if you didn't play football, could you see yourself living in Madison? And then, of course, the football side, I always tell them, if you're a running back, you're going to get a chance. You're going to get an opportunity to showcase your talents. First of all, you're going to get a chance to do it in front of the coaches and Coach said during camp, spring ball, and, so that they can gain your trust in order for them to put you out there on Saturdays. But you definitely have an opportunity.
Given the history and production of that position here, does it ever surprise you how difficult this program can have getting a guy in here, a couple or less than a month before signing period, and they are without one in 2020?
Yeah, I can see how it can be difficult, but that's the biggest thing is, especially when I talk to guys and I tell them that you're going to have an opportunity, never telling anybody that, hey, it's going to be guaranteed, because nothing's guaranteed in this game. Everything is earned, nothing is given. So I just tell them, hey, if you're determined enough and you have the willpower, you will have the opportunity in order to, leave your legacy here.
Jonathan, what do you remember from that Purdue game last year?
Well, that was my first overtime game, and then went to triple overtime. So I'm like, what are the chances my first overtime game goes to triple overtime? But it was actually really fun, just because once you get into overtime, you understand the magnitude. You understand every play counts. Every single thing is critical, whether you're getting up after a play, giving the ball to a ref, maybe you guys are going to no huddle. You just got to understand that everything is – you gotta be playing your best ball when it's in overtime. But overall, it was a fun game. I mean, those guys made tremendous plays. Rondell Moore, he was a guy that I was just like, man, that kid's explosive, and he just came in. So it was definitely fun. But those guys are very athletic on defense. Their backers are athletic. We watched them on film. They're getting cut, but they're like spinning out of the cut. So it was very interesting to see that. So we're gonna make sure that we're good this game.
What did your body feel like after that? Because I think you had 30-plus carries in that game. Were you beat up, tired? Or?
No, not really. Not right after the game. Really, I was just kind of, the adrenaline was still going because it was touchdown, we're celebrating, then I'm getting interviewed. So kind of really at the end, after everything, once I got undressed in the locker room, and I'm like, man, that was a shootout. You just start thinking about it. But, not at first, the adrenaline was still running high.
JT, how nice is it to have the Big Ten West things back in your hands? You guys win, it's yours.
It's always good. And one of the biggest things is, only thing we could do is control what we can control. So one of the biggest things we tried to do was go out there and get that win versus Nebraska. And, fortunately enough, like you said, if things work down the line, if we continue doing things right, then we'll be right back in where we want to be at the end of the year. So we got to make sure we continue to do what we did versus Nebraska, stay focused, and, just focus on Purdue this week.
Did you watch the game, the Iowa-Minnesota game on the plane?
No, I didn't. I fell asleep. On the plane. I was real tired after the game. I wanted to relax, and then I had a protein shake, I had an Uncrustable, and then a few guys were watching the game though on the plane.
So when did you find out that Iowa had helped you out?
Once we got back on the bus off the plane, people started saying that Iowa had won the game.
How was Nakia just develop trust with you guys in this offense? Last couple of weeks he's been on the field, in the fourth quarter when you guys were trying to salt away a win here.
Really, the biggest thing is him developing that in-game experience. You can get rep after rep in practice, but it's something different about the game. That real game time speed is different. So just seeing him, the way he's developed, his patience, and being able to understand that the game will come to you if you just take a deep breath, relax, be patient, follow your keys. The game will come to you, and you really started to see that, as he's progressed throughout the season. So it's been real fun watching him because, the beginning of the season, you see him get the ball, he's running hard downhill, and now he's just a little bit more patient. He's finding the hole, he's slipping through. So it's been real fun seeing him grow.
Through your eyes, you mentioned a little bit, I think, a little earlier about what do you see from Purdue's defense, in particular this season, and what challenges they could bring on Camp Randall on Sunday?
Those guys are very athletic. Like I said, I mean, we watched a couple of film. Those guys were attempted to get cut, and they kind of like spun out the cut. They're linebackers specifically, so they're very, very athletic. One of the more athletic groups that we've seen, which was really interesting. And it's fun though because you know it's going to be a challenge. You got to make sure you're using the right technique.